Hello friends and welcome to StudyIQ. I am Joycey Joy and today in this lecture we will be discussing about Prime Minister Modi's Saudi visit recently, and we will see what are the outcomes of this visit and why this visit is beneficial for India, what are the areas of cooperation between Saudi Arabia and India. So how did this recent visit of PM Modi elevated the bilateral relationship of India and Saudi Arabia? So all these things we will discuss in detail in this lecture. So let us begin. Let us begin with the current affair. Let us see what is the current affair. So Indian Prime Minister Shri Narendra Modi visited the Saudi Arabia, the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, and this recent visit of PM Modi was at the invitation of the Saudi King Salman bin Abdul Aziz. So the Saudi King had invited PM Modi, and based on this invitation PM Modi has visited Saudi Arabia recently. Now let us see what is the relevance of this meeting and what was the purpose of this meeting. What was the meeting for? Now, the meeting forum was formally called the Future Investment Initiative, and this forum was officially launched in 2017. Now, from the name itself, the Future Investment Initiative, we get a clue on what could be this meeting all about. So, this meeting was all about making investments. So, the forum is known formally as the Future Investment Initiative Forum, and PM Modi will be joining some other counterparts as well. For example, the Brazil's president, also the US president's senior advisor. So all these people will be joining PM Modi in this meeting, and also other leading international figures also join the annual international forum, and this forum is popularly known as the Davos in the desert. This is because Saudi Arabia, it's a desert, and that's why it's called a Davos in the desert. This forum is popularly called Davos in the desert. This is very important. You can get a question based on this. So this official name of this forum is Future Investment Initiative, whereas it is popularly known as the Davos in the desert. So these two things please keep in mind. This can be asked in your examination. Now, what is the purpose of this forum? So it tries to elevate Saudi Arabia's international economic engagement. Now, what is meant by economic engagement? Economic engagement is not just about trade. So it is not just trade, but includes many other aspects which relates to the economy of Saudi Arabia. So the purpose or the aim of this meeting or this forum is to elevate, that is to improve the relationship of Saudi Arabia with the rest of the world, that is international relations with regard to economic engagement. So it can be trade, it can be investment, it can be about capital inflow and outflow. So anything related to the economic aspect. So it aims to elevate the international economic engagement of Saudi Arabia. So please remember here that it is not only trade is also included. You may think that trade is the only thing because Saudi Arabia has got lots of oil resources. So trade is one major area where Saudi has given its focus. But it is not just trade, but other aspects like investment, capital, etc. are also covered. Now, it is a part of Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman's efforts to rapidly transform Saudi economy under his Vision 2030. So this Vision 2030 was unveiled in the year 2016. So this forum is also a part of this vision of rapidly transforming the economy of Saudi Arabia by the year 2030. So these are all the purposes of this meeting. Now let us see how has Saudi transformed in the recent years. So what are the transformative changes that has taken place in Saudi Arabia in the recent years? We can divide it into two broad categories. The first one is the economy of Saudi Arabia and the socio-religious aspects in the country. First, let us come to Saudi Arabia's economy. What is the transformation taken place in the Saudi Arabia's economy in the recent years? Now, Saudi Arabia's economic transformation was envisaged by Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman popularly known as MBS. So Mohammed bin Salman had opened up a huge new opportunities for India's economic cooperation with the kingdom. So under Mohammed bin Salman, the economic partnership or economic engagement of India and Saudi Arabia was elevated. Why this is significant and important is because for so many years the economic relationship of India and Saudi Arabia was just limited to the import of oil and the export of manpower. Now, import of oil. Why? Because we are hugely dependent on the external sector for our oil requirements. So we need imports for our oil requirements, and Saudi Arabia was one major country from which India was importing oil. So our economic relationship or our economic partnership for the many years was limited just to the import of oil and export of manpower. Why? Because many people from India's diaspora is working in Saudi Arabia. So export of manpower and import of oil. So this was the only relation, or the economic relation was just limited to this. But under the plan or the vision of Mohammed bin Salman, elevation of India-Saudi Arabia economic partnership had taken place. Now, what is the ambition of Mohammed bin Salman? Mohammed bin Salman, Crown Prince, wants to diversify the Saudi economy from its historic reliance in oil business. So, he is looking for a diversification of the Saudi economy. Why? Because historically, Saudi Arabia is popularly known for its oil resources and oil business. This is because it is an oil-rich country. It has got sufficient oil resources. So, historically, the trade of Saudi Arabia is limited, or to a larger extent, it is limited to the business of oil. So, Crown Prince wants to diversify the business. That is, he wants to undertake some other business as well along with the oil business. Now, what is the aim? He wants to diversify, and the aim is to develop manufacturing and service sectors through liberalization at home and deeper integration with the world. So, he wants to develop manufacturing sector and the services sector. So, for that, liberalization at home, that means liberalization of policies or the domestic policies, that is the policies at home, that is the domestic policies will be liberalized, and also he tries to establish a deeper integration with the outside world. So, liberalization of domestic policies and better integration with the world economy. And this aim is founded on three aspects of the kingdom. The first one is a special status in the Arab and Islamic worlds. Saudi Arabia has got a very special and very relevant status in the Arab and Islamic world because of the holy places in Saudi Arabia. So it has got a special status. Second one is its strategic location. Why it has got a strategic location? This is because Saudi Arabia is located at the tri-junction of Africa, Europe and Asia. So it is located at the tri-junction. So that's why it has a strategic location. And the third aspect is its expansive investment capability. So Saudi Arabia has got a capability or capacity for undertaking huge investments. This is because of the rich resources available in the country and the wealth of the economy. So considering the wealth of the economy and the huge resources available in the country, Saudi Arabia is capable of undertaking huge investments. So these three are very positive signals for Saudi Arabia. And this will definitely help the country to expand and elevate its trade relations, economic relations with the rest of the world. And also in the last few years, several initiatives have also been noticed from Saudi Arabia. For example, it has attempted to turn Saudi's Aramco, the national oil producing company, into a global conglomerate. So, Aramco is the national oil producing company. So this attempt to turn Aramco into a global conglomerate is also one attempt. Second one, other reforms have also been adopted by the country. For example, easing the FDI restrictions, the foreign direct investments restrictions have been eased. Also, the country is now promoting tourism. Also the entertainment industry is being promoted, and also the development of debt market. Also it is adopting a massive anti-corruption campaign. So these are all certain positive steps seen in the last few years from Saudi Arabia's government or the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia in order to reform its economy and also to integrate its economy with the rest of the world. And some other economic reforms undertaken recently in Saudi Arabia. One is bankruptcy law. Second one is the introduction of VAT, that is the value added tax, in order to enhance non-oil revenue generation. So Saudi Arabia is also targeting at expanding its business other than oil. Now third one is the cut in the water and the power subsidies given by the government, and also certain other reforms are undertaken by Saudi Arabia. And when we look at the ease of doing business report or the index published by the World Bank recently in the year 2019, Saudi Arabia, the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, was one of the top 10 global business climate improvers. That means those countries that have improved on the business climate. So Saudi Arabia was one among the top 10 countries who have made remarkable improvement in the business climate. So this is a clear indication of the results of the reforms adopted by Saudi Arabia in the recent years. And also a very important element is the Vision 2030, which we have already discussed. So Vision 2030 aims at establishing strategic partnerships with the rest of the countries. And under the Vision 2030, certain countries are given priority. For example, the US, China, India, Japan, South Korea, Germany, France, UK. So these countries are given priority under the Vision 20 list of the Saudi Arabia. So these are the economic reforms adopted by Saudi Arabia in the recent years. Now let us come to socio-religious reforms adopted by the country. So when we talk about Saudi Arabia's socio-religious reforms, it is very remarkable because of the historical orthodox nature of Saudi Arabia. So Mohammed bin Salman's ambitious agenda includes socio-religious reforms as well, and his aim is to modernize the Saudi society. Now, if we look at the history of Saudi Arabia, the country is under the domination of religious conservatism since 1979. This is when the Islamic radicals came close to de-establishing the kingdom. So since 1979, the country is under the domination of a religious conservatism. And here what is important for India is that there is a deep interconnection between the Gulf, which includes the Saudi Arabia as well, with the Indian subcontinent. So there is a deep interconnectedness with the India for Saudi Arabia. So given this condition or the interconnectedness, the drift towards conservatism for Saudi Arabia had a negative impact on India and its neighbors as well. So the conservatism policies of Saudi Arabia had a negative impact on Indian economy or Indian society as well as the neighboring societies or Islamic countries around India. Now let us come to the reforms adopted by Saudi Arabia in the recent years in socio-religious reforms. The first one is limiting the power of the religious police in public places. So the power of religious police were limited. Second one, granting of more rights to women. Women were given more rights. This was because the women in Saudi Arabia were given very limited rights. So they were not equal to men. Now third one is lifting the 35-year-old ban on the cinema halls. That is, for the last 35 years, women were not allowed to enter the film halls or the theaters. So this ban has been lifted. Also letting restaurants play music and permitting large music concerts. So now music is permitted in restaurants. Earlier it was not done. So these are all certain socio-religious reforms that the country has adopted in the recent years. This will definitely improve the investment environment or the investment nature of the economy. This will also help the economy to elevate its economic relations with the rest of the world. Now, what are the benefits for India? So these reforms, whether it is economic reforms or socio-religious reforms, how would it benefit India? Definitely, we know that economic reforms are going to benefit India, and we have also seen that the interconnectedness between India and Saudi Arabia definitely has got an impact on the socio-religious aspect as well. So, first of all, from the socio-religious reform aspect, so definitely the socio-religious reforms adopted by the country will reverse some of the negative effects of conservatism on Indian economy that Saudi Arabia had put on. Now, second one, India also has a huge stake in the successful economic and social modernization of Saudi Arabia. We have seen regarding the service sector, that is the export of manpower from India to Saudi Arabia. So it definitely has got a positive aspect. Now, let us see what are the benefits in the economic aspect. First of all, this will boost the bilateral ties. Especially now PM Modi has visited Saudi Arabia, and this meeting is a very important factor that is aimed at boosting the bilateral ties between the two countries, especially in some key sectors like the energy sector and the finance sector. Energy sector, because we are highly dependent on imports from Saudi Arabia for our oil requirements. Now, second, finance sector, this is because Saudi Arabia has the capability and capacity to make huge investments, and Indian economy is looking forward for huge investments as well. So in energy and finance sector especially, this bilateral relations will be very helpful for India. Now, third one is the capital sector. So this improved relations between India and Saudi Arabia will also deploy massive capital to India from Saudi Arabia. Fourth one is Aramco. Aramco is the national oil company of Saudi Arabia. Aramco has decided to take a large stake in the oil business of Reliance, and this can be the beginning of a new economic era of bilateral relations. So this is very, very important, and this will definitely bring in rapid investments, growth in the investments in India from Saudi Arabia. So these are all some of the benefits for India with an elevated bilateral relations with Saudi Arabia. You can find the PDF of this lecture on our website www.studyiq.com. You can follow my Facebook page for more video updates. You can write to me at joycey.studyiq@gmail.com for any of your queries and clarification. Thank you.